This episode of DDO Players News is brought to you by the Skull Splitter Dice Company and the brand new Skull Splitter Dice 2020 Frosted Collection over on Kickstarter. Based on feedback from previous Kickstarters, they created 10 Frost matte versions of the 11-piece dice sets we all love from the Skull Splitter Dice Company. These dice sets do have a frosted/matte finish on them. They're not shiny like most dice, and they are not handmade. The clumping and the foil inclusions are going to make each one of these dices unique as a snowflake. Each of the colors for the new dice sets have been carefully handpicked, and each dice set will feature foil inclusions and shimmer glitter that will create a magical appearance in the light. And of course, they feature the Skull Splitter double axle logo that we all love on the 20 on the D20. So check out the brand new Kickstarter by following the link in the show notes for this episode for the Skull Splitter Dice 2020 Frosted Collection. And once again, thank you very much for the fine folks over at Skull Splitter Dice for bringing you DDO Players News.
Good day, everyone. This is Polly Needles, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news at DDO and on the tabletop. And please welcome my co-host from Ravenloft, Dracula.
Hey now, everybody. How's it going?
Hello there, Drac. How is Barovia enjoying 2021?
Oh, just happy that it's 2021, because 2020, what a piece of crap year that was.
Ooh. For all the people in Barovia, or just for the aristocracy?
Pretty much, I think everybody can agree what a piece of crap year 2020 was.
Well then, despite that, we are still going to have a year in review for DDO, so I'm going to hand it over to you so that we could talk about what updates we had this year.
Yeah, at least 2020 was good for DDO, and it was surprisingly good considering everything that was going on. I, for one, was kind of shocked they were actually able to get as many updates out as they did and get an expansion out, all from working from home. So good job to SSG for actually making that happen.
Well, that's one advantage on software developers, is that we can work from home. I've been working from home for the last 7 months, so...
You know it all too well.
All too well.
But yeah, we started out the year. Everybody didn't know what was in store for us. February 12th, we had Update 45 released, and that was the Age of the Alchemist. We had the Adventure Pack, where the Catacombs and Delaris Tomb were updated, and they also made the epic versions of those. Both packs, as I said, did rework the epic difficulty for those, so that was nice. We had a named loot pass. That's what brought us the Alchemist, hence the name Age of the Alchemist. We also had some new feats, Accelerate Spell, Multitude of Missiles, Simple Throwing Weapons Expertise, and that brought in some balance adjustments as well to the Inquisitive, nerf, tanks, paladins, had a little something caught my throat there. Two-handed fighting and stealth mechanics. And then we had one quality of life improvement, or two actually, shared bank, and that brought us the 64-bit client. So that all happened back in February. That seems like a long time ago.
I know a lot. Well, considering that was back when everyone thought, "Oh, that's just another one of those China diseases. We don't have to worry about that."
Exactly.
I do have to say though that we really wish that those alchemists were real and that they had some nice cure disease spells. They would have come in very handy in the real world this year.
That's right. They could have just run around and chucked some of those potions, and we all would have been fine.
Yes.
So, Catacombs and Delaris Tomb, the rework of those. I was happy with it. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I played it on both normal and epic difficulty and enjoyed myself both instances.
Yeah, it took me a while before I was able to get into there and try out the new way in there. And in here they try to have the entire thing that whoever's behind everything change some significant portions of it in hopes of making it make more sense.
And then I haven't done anything with the Alchemist. I know
Okay.
you have, so you can speak to the Alchemist. But it looks interesting. I would like to make one at some point, but I just haven't got around to doing it yet.
Yes, I have. I think I've made well at least two different alchemists because there's one I'm playing with you, and then there's the one that I'm doing on that DDO series.
Yeah, so what are your just kind of summed up overall thoughts of The Alchemist?
All right, it's a nice solid overall class. It's a spell a spell casting class with a little bit of different style in how they do it because you're throwing bottles around instead of casting spells of another type. It's sometimes tricky to try to figure out which spells you because your spell selection seems to be similar to that on a. I think you don't have quite as many spells as a wizard would, or is that, or I am over counting how many spells that a wizard can have on there. But they do have memorized spell systems in a similar way to a wizard on what they do. And some of them, though, are interesting because I remember one time where I was going in there and thinking, oh, too bad I can't do anything with locks in there. Then I remember, oh, yes. When I next got to a shrine, I just swapped in the melt lock spell.
Oh, nice. Yeah, see, there you go.
Yes, so they can't do too much with traps. So my search skill is enough so I can at least see the traps very often. So obviously it's not as good as being able to get rid of the traps, but being able to open up chests and being able to at least see some of the traps. But I guess a decent search skill will get you that no matter what.
Right, true.
So
But okay.
I've been pretty satisfied with it, and I think it's been one of my favorite classes that I've ever played.
And then I think the other big thing to come out of this update, of course, was a 64-bit client. I started using it as soon as it was out. Have had no problems whatsoever,
Yeah.
and I think my game runs a little bit better, maybe as well too. I think.
Yeah, my one little thing about the 64-bit client is probably more with the other game than with this game, and that is the fact that when you exit on the 64-bit client, it will not put you back to the server selection screen as you
I heard you talking about that
had with the 32. Yeah,
the other podcast actually. So yeah.
right. I believe the same thing is true on the DDO side. I don't think I've ever needed the 64-bit client in DDO. In Lotro, it's almost mandatory. It feels like it's mandatory to have one if you're going into certain areas because you just overload your memory and crash it in
Right.
there.
Yeah.
And I've never had that trouble with DDO. And I don't think I've had quite the speed and lag issues in DDO that I have had in Lotro. I have to check though because I'm trying to think what locations I do get occasional lag in the because I know that whenever I've seen lag, you've also had lag, so it must have been network
True.
lag
Yeah.
rather
I gotta
than
say,
client lag.
I would think because it seems like we usually do have it at the same time if we ever do. But yeah. The trick is I actually haven't been in there for a while since the 64-bit client. To me, the trick is going to be going to Thunderholm. That's where I always got super, super lag no matter what. So it'll be interesting to go in there and see if that area still lags.
I don't remember where Thunderhome is.
Mental note to mark that down to try that. But overall, I think I liked Update 45.
Yeah.
Like I said, I enjoyed Catacombs and Delaris Tomb, 64-bit client. So overall, I think thumbs up on that update overall.
Yeah. And I think then that the people who do raids might appreciate the 64-bit client more.
Oh, probably. That would
because
be
then
a
you've
good
got
question,
more
yeah.
assets going on at the same time. That's right. Because
True.
I'm playing with one or two players and maybe a couple of hirelings. And
Right,
I have a feeling that makes a big difference on what's going on.
True, and yeah, I'm not a huge raider. I mean, I raid sometimes, but not like I'm huge. So that is probably true. That did probably make a big difference to the raiders.
Yeah.
So, yep. So let's fast forward to our next update, which happened a couple months later in April, out on April the 23rd to be exact. This was update 46, and it was the Lost Gatekeepers.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting that they got this out because what all was going on in April sounded like that would have been the worst time to try to get an update out or anything like that.
Indeed, because if I do remember correctly, that is about the time they all went virtual and from home. Seems like it was March is when that happened, I think.
I think it's around late March, early April is
Yeah.
when most people were going virtual in there. So I have a feeling that a great deal of the work and planning had already been done face to face.
Yeah, I can guarantee you the planning and the work, I would say probably a lot of it was probably done. There was probably just some polish and some, little
they're
fixes
probably
here and
doing
there.
probably polish and doing final touches, and probably most of the stuff was readily doable virtually, and that could explain why there's a long gap after this before the next one, is because the next one had to be planned virtually.
Right. So this brought us the adventure pack, The Lost Gatekeepers. We got 5 new quests. These are level 3, are level 32. It's the Home of Memory, Heart of the Problem, Rosemary's Ballad, The Sacred Bounty, and Housekeeping. Also brought us the new Gatekeepers Grove, a little hub where you can get to a lot of the other quests from. And of course, we had the new named items, as always, in an adventure pack. We usually get some new items. I loved this adventure pack. I think this, to me, had some of the best quest writing in DDO for a long time. I loved these quests. I loved the storyline, and I loved the writing on the quest.
And they finally give us some good quests within the Cerulean Hills.
Right. Well, and that's true too. We actually, the Cerulean Hills is actually used for something now.
Yes, other than those 2 tiny little quests that were there before.
So that's true too. So yeah. Overall, like I said, I loved this quest pack. The quest, as I said, the storyline was great. It was a really solid storyline. And the writing, kudos to the writers on these quests, because there was some like very humorous things that happened in these quests. These had some of my most favorite lines in any quest come out of these quests and the storyline. So
yeah,
I just really enjoyed this quest line.
Yeah, it's also an interesting look into the gatekeepers on how the idea is that each of these 4 are in some way misfits as apprentice gatekeepers.
Right. Yep.
and so I think you get a little bit more of a look into what the gatekeepers are like in seeing how, well, these are the ones where I have trouble fitting in.
So yeah, like I said, just thumbs up on this quest pack too, I think. So far we're 2 for 2.
All right.
With our updates on the year. So we're going good. And then we had to wait all the way till October 12th. So quite a span. And I would have to look back, but I would have to say this is almost the longest time in between updates, maybe for a while now. I mean, I like I said, I'd have to look back for sure to actually, make sure that my statement there is correct. But it sure seems like that was a long time between updates.
Well, it won't be maybe after free to play went into play, because the actually putting free to play into play was almost absolutely the longest update on there, because I think they had to
that's true.
tank for a year in order to do that.
That was a long time. That's true.
But. Yes. Now this one, I'm trying to think, because I think the Feywild was originally planned to be earlier, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Yeah. So I think that 47. I can't remember whether Feywild was originally supposed to be 47, and then when the Feywild really got pushed back, they thought we needed to get another update out before then.
Can't remember.
Oh, of course, they needed 47. No, actually, no, 47 had to have already been planned.
Yeah, it was
always
planned.
had traits Yeah, because the shifter race.
Yes, yeah, it was planned because that was going to introduce, which we'll just talk about that now. Once again, this is update 47. The Promise of Fire brought us 3 new legendary versions of the Lord of Blades, the Master Artificer, and a Vision of Destruction. We also got a new dungeon called the Promise of Fire, and as Pine Leaf said, we got the Razor Claw Iconic, the Shifter race was brought out with this, and the Feydark Illusionist Universal Enhancement Tree, which tied in to the next update, which was Feywild, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So this kind of introduced the Feywild. The new dungeon, Promise of Fire, kind of hinted at some stuff in the Feywild, and then of course we got the race in the tree.
Right. So this one was just about just trying to get everything ready for the Feywild and have all the stuff ready for the pre-orders. That's pretty much the type of update it is. I suspect it was not originally planned to be the first update after that many months. I suspected they wanted Feywild to be out in August, and just in July, maybe a Promise of Fire will come out, which would have been April, May, June. July would have been about the right time for this update, I think.
Good time frame there, but alas, that didn't happen. But this was kind of like, I, of course, haven't done any of these legendary raids yet, so I can't speak to those.
Right.
The dungeon was okay, I thought. It didn't like knock my socks off or anything.
Right, because I don't remember that dungeon as well as I remember the Gatekeepers. Because the Gatekeepers,
yeah,
that's an easy series to remember. This one is like, what? Oh, there was a.
I mean, like I said, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not. Would I run it again? I mean, sure, probably I will at some point. But
yeah, it'll be in my normal rotation when I'm starting a new character. I think.
Exactly.
Unless I've passed by it and passed by out leveled it or something like this. But it's probably just being a normal. It's certainly not one to spam or anything like that.
Right. Exactly. It's not like oh, I'm gonna log in and run Promise of Fire today. No, I mean, it was just I mean, it was all right. Of course, the shifter race. Once again, I didn't create a shifter. It never really interested me in the least bit. I know you did for a while.
I created one that I ran through the Borderlands, and I was thinking of doing a series on it. But of course, probably the only comment I got on the series that I attempted to launch on that was, "You're not doing much shifting," and I realized it's like, that's something that I've got no reason to really use that ability.
Why am I doing this if I'm not actually shifting? Right.
Right. Yeah, because that's it. Why bother doing so? Yeah, that one got put on by the wayside. I suppose that everyone has one. When they have a new races and new classes, I think a lot of people have one that they really resonate with and one that they don't, because they're. And obviously, the Alchemist is the one that resonated with me this year.
Right, and then of course we had the Feydark Illusionist Universal Enhancement Tree. Love to see Illusionist getting a little bit of love. I haven't messed with it at all. I did when it was on the Mania a little bit, but live I actually haven't made one, but I kind of have an idea about maybe making an Illusionist.
I've been wanting to do it. The only thing that has really held me back on it is I'm trying to explore the lines on the Alchemist tree. So
right.
I haven't been using the Illusionist. Maybe my next character, the character I'm doing for next year, may do this, because I think that uses intelligence.
Yes, it does.
Right. So, because one of the classes I'm thinking of doing might be an arty, and if I do an arty, then I could maybe do an arty with Illusionist, and maybe that'll work.
Ooh, that would be interesting, probably.
Well,
that's overall, this update was meh. I mean, it was okay. Not, I mean, personally, in my opinion, not much to write home about. But then I didn't really do anything with the shipper
Well,
and the iconics and the raids. So this update was really, yeah, to me.
Well, its main purpose was to be prep work for the
Right.
real update that
Right,
was going to be
right.
coming soon afterwards.
Which is the next one, which was pretty soon afterwards. On November the 5th, we saw our 5th expansion to the game, which is amazing. We've had 5 expansions. This, of course, was the Fables of the Feywild. Brought us 13 new quests. They are heroic level 5 to 6, and, of course, epic 32. This did add 1 raid, which is coming soon.
Soon.
February-ish is what they're saying. So the goal is for February. So the raid for this pack not out yet. We did get the Feywild Wilderness Explorer area. We had the Shifter Race, the full release of it. And this also brought us our reworked augment system and the new augments. This, I think, was a good expansion from what I played so far. We ran a couple of the quests, and then things got crazy for me, and we haven't gone back yet. But we will actually start this week. Actually, we're going to jump back in and start playing Feywild, so we can actually do a review of Feywild. I know you have ran everything, though, because you've done a video series on Feywild.
Right, I've done a video series. Yeah, I think I've run all. Oh, that's right, because I believe that I used the free skip that you have on the saga. I think I used it so I didn't have to repeat one of the quests that was in there because I had to repeat 3 of them because the saga came out after.
Right.
After the opening. Yeah. So I chose one of those. So that means I did every other quest at least. So I did every quest at least once then.
Okay, yeah. So, but like I said, ones that I ran, I've enjoyed. I like the new monsters that we got.
Yeah.
The quest line so far, I'm liking. I'm liking the writing on it as well. Not quite as good as the writing on the Gatekeepers, but good writing, good storyline so far. I'm enjoying it, and I like the Feywild area itself. Yeah. But like I said, after I actually run everything, we'll actually do a little review. We'll talk about it probably in a couple of weeks after we run stuff. We'll do a little Fables of the Feywild expansion review on the podcast here. So you can hear my full thoughts, but so far, thumbs up. I'm liking it.
Yeah. And one of the things about the Fables of the Feywild is it is a follow-up to what happens in the Gatekeeper's quest line.
Correct.
Or I guess the Gatekeeper's quest line was written as a prequel for it. And I think the writing might have been better for it because I suspect that a lot of the writing for some of these storylines might be collaborative efforts and some brainstorming might be involved in there. And if that's true, then brainstorming is a whole lot easier face-to-face.
Yeah, I remember in our interview with the devs, we did talk to them about how the storylines for stuff is written, and that's exactly how it is. It's kind of a group effort, and everybody brings a little bit to the table, and yeah, that's got to be difficult over Zoom or Skype or Discord or Teams, you name it, whatever people are using for virtual stuff, it's got to be difficult. So overall, thumbs up. I think, like I said, to me, just the amount of work they actually did get out with working virtually pretty much most of the year, I think SSG did a bang-up job in 2020 on DDO. I can't, say that it's like, this year was horrible. I mean, this year was horrible, but at least it was good in DDO. We had some good updates, some solid stuff, in my opinion, of course.
Yes. Very nice updates this year.
Yeah, is there anything else you want to say about Feywild, or can we move on to our what we thought of 2020?
I think we should go about what we thought about 2020.
All right. So, as always, we're going to go around the virtual table, as it were, here. And we're going to say which update, in our opinion, was the best update for DDO in 2020.
Yes. I had a great deal of weighing on deciding on this one because I was trying to say, okay, was it 45? Because I've been playing so much with the Alchemist, I just had to go with Age of the Alchemist.
Makes sense.
Right.
My answer to this is going to be, as you probably have guessed by now, update 46, The Lost Gatekeepers.
Right.
Which
that makes sense.
I would have to go back and look. I think this is maybe the first time we have disagreed on this answer, because usually we've had the same update answer.
Yes, but when you consider that I got a great deal of mileage out of the Alchemist, and
it makes total sense. Yep.
Yeah.
Your answer does make total sense.
Right, because if it weren't for that, if it weren't for the Alchemist in there, yes, it would have been pretty solidly number update 46.
46. That's kind of what I thought. But like I said, your answer makes sense. And then, of course, your answer to this next question is going to shock nobody as well. But what do we think the best non-raid / quest thing was that was added to DDO in 2020?
And, of course, that would have to be the Alchemist.
Of course. I mean, everybody saw that question coming. This might shock some people, but my answer to this one is going to be the reworked augment and the new augments. Because I really enjoy playing with the augment system a lot and seeing what you can do, and I like the changes they made to it. So I think that was the best thing that was added to DDO that wasn't a quest. And then, looking ahead to 2021, we don't know a lot yet, really, because we haven't seen a producer's letter yet. That's still coming. They've kind of hinted at some stuff that's coming, but from the stuff that we do know that is coming in 2021, as of this date, right now that we're recording the show, what is the thing we're most looking forward to?
And when I was looking at this, I'm trying to think, what do I know about what's coming in 2021? And the only thing I could think of is the classic pack. I didn't write that down solidly in there because was there something that they hinted about that I forgot about? Obviously, it wasn't something that really struck me if I did forget about it. But
yeah, basically the next classic pack is...
Yeah,
that's really about all we know for sure that is coming. They have kind of, hinted at there's going to be a new... they're going to rework the Ranger a little bit. There's going to be a new Ranger tree. That could be interesting. But I just love the classic packs. But, of course, we don't even know what the classic pack is going to be, though. So that's the other thing, too. It's going to be exciting to find out exactly what that is, which they usually tend to announce that in the producer's letter, which... we were promised in our dev interview that we would see in January.
Yeah,
Coco Majobo said in January.
So. Yes, but you notice who said it as opposed to several.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, so there is that little problem. So I'm feeling we need to revisit this one when the producer's letter comes out.
We can do that. I will make a note, and we will definitely do that when we talk about the producer's letter. We'll look back at this question and see... if you had anything to add / change, or if I changed my mind, because it really depends on what classic pack it's going to be, but we'll see.
Okay.
All right. So now is the fun part where we look at what gaming goals we set for ourselves over the year of 2020. And Pine Leaf shows how amazingly awesome he is by smashing every goal he had, completely smashing them into the ground, into little pieces. And I always say, yeah, no, it didn't do it. Let's move on. So,
I think there's a little hyperbole in there, though.
Spoiler alert. Okay, Pine Leaf, your goals for DDO were you wanted to run all of the classes and races through Keep on the Borderlands, and you wanted to start a new character and seriously learn how to survive with no level goal in mind.
Right, because the idea there, we'll get to the first one first. Is running all the classes and the races through Keep of the Borderlands. And yes, I did manage to do that. I think there were, I forgot the exact number. There were maybe like 14 of one and 13 of the other or something like that. And of course, I had to save the shifter for last because, yeah, shifter came out pretty late.
Right. No, that makes sense.
So I did make sure that I reserved space for doing that one last in there. But I did manage to get every single class and every single race in there. And I began to understand from there how they, some of the little things about the various classes in there, such as a class with a poor wisdom skill is very bad for soloing, simply because if you have a bad wisdom, you are not getting any hit points when you rest at those shrines. And that's something I didn't know at the beginning of the year.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, when I saw my barbarians and saw how little they gained, and I was wondering, what is the, I think I've always been wondering, okay, what is this healing skill worth? It is worth a lot of points when you rest.
And now you know, and knowing is half the battle.
Yes, that's half the battle in there. But yes, I did get through all the races and the classes.
All right. So, how about your start a new character and seriously learn how to survive with no level goal in mind?
Yeah, that's the. Oh, right. You notice that one was intentionally left to be a little bit on the vague side.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Right. So I started many new characters and doing that whole thing about the races and classes there. But the characters I ran and were seriously learning how to survive was mainly with the alchemist, because I got the alchemist up to about level 9. And I think I really summarized this particular goal as try to learn to play better, try to better understand things. And I made a list of the various things I learned over the course of the year. So I won't say that I'm going to be able to pick up hard and what's the high level?
Elite.
Oh, elite. Yeah. See, I can't even remember elite. That shows you how little I do elite stuff, right?
And then there's legendary after that. But
oh yeah. Well. Yeah.
I like how Pine just has like no answer for legendary.
Yeah.
He's just like next.
No. I certainly not anywhere near of being able to doing that, but I did learn quite a number of things in there. So you can see what this way got in here. Oh, here it is. Yes. I learned about potions, and that where you can get potions that if you need them, because I never thought about buying potions, health potions from vendors or anything like that before this year.
And I still shake my head at that.
Yes. So this is showing you one of the key elements that helps you to survive is knowing little things like that.
I remember the exact moment you figured that out, because you're like, that's how you stay alive so much.
Yes, because you keep on chugging.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm chugging potions over here.
Yeah. Not that it helped me too much for for my main character. It helped me a bit in Keep of the Borderlands, because chugging a few potions. Because when I first started at the beginning of the year, I could not get through Keep of the Borderlands without hiring a cleric. Now, one of the things I was trying to do was to do the Keep of the Borderlands for each of them, see how far I can get before I had to resort to getting a cleric. And in the end, I was able to do most of them without it, and part of it was because I brought a few potions along. So that's how things went around. So at the beginning of it, I wasn't using potions, and I had a lot of trouble getting through them, and in the end, I was able to get some characters through it that I thought would never have been able to get all the way through there without using any clerics. So that was quite a interesting thing to learn along the way. Now, second thing I learned is the thing I already talked about already, and that was how low wisdom melee classes are really bad at health restoration at shrines. Then I learned that I need to either learn how to use shields effectively or switch to two-hand weapons, simply because I wasn't really taking advantage of the abilities of a shield, because I'm used to Lotro, where shields are mostly passive. Well, at least the blocking aspect of a shield is passive in Lotro. So I never thought that you had to actively use it in order to do it more effective. Now, that said, my alchemist, which is the main character I've been using, uses an orb, which is in a way just an enchanted shield that
Sure, yeah.
that adds a little bit to your magical abilities in there. So I'm not. But then we're talking about caster class there, where two-handed weapons aren't as effective. But let's say if I'm playing a barbarian, if I'm not using a shield effectively, then I should be using a two-handed axe or something like that.
All right. Okay, that makes sense. I
Yes.
see your point there.
This is.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was about to go into the next topic. So if you had a follow up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So it sounds like you did good on your goals for
Yeah.
DDO at least. We'll get to
Yeah.
our other goals here in a second.
Okay. And I learned the usefulness of balance, because that's one I never thought about that one before.
I
But
use
my
it on my rogues
alchemist,
all the time.
yeah, a rogue I could see as being very, very useful for. I never thought of a caster class as having balance, but because of my high int on my alchemist in there, and because they have good dexterity in there, my balance goes excellent in there, and I was able to do things in situations where in every other character I played before that I was falling flat on my face constantly. So yes, that can be a useful skill, and I know why you sometimes might be wanting to take it. All right. And also, I found a better place for ranged classes to stand during the Violent Delights, because at the very beginning, whenever I was playing a ranged class, I could not survive the final battle for Violent Delights. So I eventually found a good place where I can stand and act as a ranged character so that I can get through that battle. Because when I first started on there, I just thought, this is impossible. But I got better on that at the end. In fact, Violent Delights was getting through that boss fight was always the trickiest thing in the entire Keep of the Borderlands thing. If you can get through that without a cleric, you could probably get through any other part of it, unless you just get worn down and have absolutely no ability to heal yourself. And finally, that you can move an item from one inventory page to another one by dragging it to the page tab.
Oh my God, you didn't know that?
I didn't know that. I think I must
Oh
have
my
discovered that
God.
by accident or something.
Okay, I'm seriously dying right now. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So yes, I learned how to better survive. As I said, I am certainly not up to the great player status, but my goal there was to get better, and I think I got a little bit better during the course of the year.
Well, for your DDO goals, gonna give you an A plus then. 'Cause you, of course, as you always do, nailed your goals. We'll talk about tabletop here in a second. My DDO goals was to get to level 28 on any character, which I've had the same goal for I don't know how long. And yet again,
Now, I think you were on track until...
I was going to say, I was doing good. I am 26 and 27, I think, are my two highest. If the one's not 27, it's almost 27. But anyway, yes. Yeah, life happened. So Saba and I are playing on Tuesday nights. We kind of stopped because of stuff with me. And then Rent and Tay and I, sometimes Lessa, were playing on Wayfinder with our Wayfinder characters. And that just kind of stopped for some reason. I'm not sure why. Partly probably due to me, but that one wasn't all me. So we're going to hopefully start both of those back up again. So hopefully I'll get the 28, but we'll see. We'll see. So I get an F. Yay. Yay me.
Oh, let's
Failing yet again. Yay me.
maybe we could give you. Well, how close did you get? Maybe you could get partial
Well,
credit and get at least get up to a C or
uh,
D.
like like I said, I'm like 26 and a half, and I'm pretty sure my one on Wayfinder is like 27. So close-ish. But
Okay, let's give you a D then.
all right. Well, there you go. A D is better than nothing, I guess. So yeah. So there we go. So no surprise to anybody that I didn't make my goal, but it's because of things. So let's talk about tabletop goals. If you are new to the podcast, welcome for one. If you are, I don't know if we're getting new listeners or not, but maybe we are because there might be new people playing DDO. If you are new to the podcast, we're a little bit of a different DDO podcast. We talk about DDO, but then we also talk about tabletop a lot. We talk about tabletop games, role-playing games. We also talk about like movies, comic books. So we're kind of a hybrid, little weird niche podcast. People like it though, so it works. So we're going to switch over to some tabletop goals. Pine Leaf had quite the amount of tabletop goals for 2020. You had Castle Ravenloft, complete adventures 9 to 13, participate in 6 solo cons, participate in the Aeon's End Legacy Solo Marathon, and you wanted to generate a top 100 solo games list. And then you added a little note to that you must play all of the games in the top 20 over the course of 2020. So, tabletop-wise, how'd you do? Right, Castle Ravenloft, Adventures 9 to 13.
9 through 13, I did manage to complete all 4 of those adventures. Now, when I say complete, I should say that means to play them, to play the adventure, at least to a reasonable level to get the feel of the adventure in there. It did not require that I actually win the adventure.
Okay, all right. Well, in Castle Ravenloft, that makes sense because some of those are hard.
Yes, especially
hard.
Especially those near at the end in there, because if I remember correctly, I did not do too well on those last two. And I'm trying to see checking my log now to see how I did in that particular. Where is Castle Ravenloft in here? Ah, there it is. Now, in Castle Ravenloft, see, I won number 30. Okay, it looks like I won when I was playing the Rampaging Golem one, and I won the Gauntlet of Terror. So that would have been, the 19 and 12. Right. So I won those 2, and the rest of them I lost. In fact, the first time I tried to hunt for Strahd Part 2, I lost so early. I said I did not even see the boss there. So I decided to
that one's difficult.
That one. Yes, but I did rerun it, and that time I lasted longer. I found Strahd's crypt, and it brought Strahd down to 6. And I figured, all right, that meant of playing sufficiently in there to get the feel of the particular scenario.
Okay, so sounds like check mark for that one. How about 6 solo cons?
All right, 6 solo cons in there. I was trying to decide exactly what the definition of participate in there. I eventually gave a pretty stringent definition of what participate meant, and if we go by that stringent definition, I participated in 12 of them, so I doubled that.
Okay, well then, overachiever. Okay.
Well, I certainly had a lot of fun playing solo cons.
Yeah, apparently, if you doubled your goal. How about Aeon's End Legacy Solo Marathon?
All right, I participated in that one. Pretty much got crushed all the way through there. Let me just say this way: this is not going to be appearing in my list to do for next year.
Okay.
Because I find the rules for the solo marathon are such that if you're a top player and you get ahead of the curve early on, you earn these rewards that allow you to do really, really great and be able to have all these extra rewards to fight in the end. And if you don't, then you're starting the final boss fight with less than you would expect right there. So
that sucks.
I should remember that to the last time I tried the solo marathon, and that's why I skipped a year in doing it. Yeah, I just don't like the rules of how the solo marathon works. So therefore, I'm not going to go through that anymore. I have my own way of playing Aeon's End, and the solo marathon does not quite gel with that now that I think about it. But I did get all the way through it. I did participate in it. I had to sleep through a couple of them because there are rules for them that if you're really beaten down and that would be impossible for you to really win going to the next one, you could rest a scenario and then go to the next one. So I did had to rest in a couple when I did play the last scenario, and the last scenario, it was just crushing. I think actually I might have come close to actually surviving the last scenario in one. I think I made 3 tries at it. Third time I was just so close in there, and I just like, no, I am not going through this again. So yes, I participated in it. That's why I said participate.
Well, there you go. See, participate.
Yes.
So check mark on that one. And then your final goal was generate a top 100 solo game list, and you must play all of your top 20 over the course of the year.
Yes. Now, I created the top 100 list in there. Let's see. In fact, I think there are actually a few more than 100 on the list, but it's the top 100 that are numbered to saying, yes, this is actually numbered in there. On top of that, I played the top 59 I've played over the course of the year.
Again, overachiever.
Yeah. Now, I should note that as I was going through this, and since I had decided that I was going to do a presentation on my top 50 games in there, and that I had managed to get my gaming table up. This gaming table, I think that I received some 2 years ago, and it took me 18 months before I got around to putting it together. This was the ultimate table game of gaming or something like that.
Oh, Ultimate Gaming Table?
Yeah, the Ultimate Gaming Table in there.
Which was a former sponsor of the podcast, as a matter of fact.
Right. It was one of those tables. It was their smaller model in there because I don't think I could have fit the larger model into my house. So I think I'm happy that I did not get the larger model in there. I think this one's the right size for me in there. And so I'm now able to get some games to the table I wasn't before. And I came to the conclusion that if I did not play a game during this year, it probably meant that I really wasn't wanting to play the game to this, because I no longer had the real excuse of I don't have space to play this game.
Right.
Like it was that I really wasn't enthused enough to play this game. So my rule for getting into the top 50 was that it had to be played during the course of this year to be in the top 50.
Okay.
Because if I didn't play it, then what's it doing in the top 50? Because these are solo games. This is a solo game list. I mean, during the year of COVID, you could make a top 100 list.
Yeah, you would think.
And have your favorite game never played during the course of the year because you couldn't get the people together to play it.
Right. True.
But when you're a solo gamer, and assuming that you have time on your hands, because it's true that some people wouldn't have had time on their hands, especially if they're medical or something like that, then yes, if you had time on your hands and if you can get 58 games to your table during the course of the year and you can't get a game on there, it probably doesn't belong in your top 50. That's just the opinion I've formed over there. So I created a list then for my top 50 games. Now, when some people say their top 50 games, sometimes they say their top games published this year or their top 50 games of all time. I decided to call my list the top 50 games that I played during the course of this year.
Okay.
So there was a bit of a circular definition there, I have to admit. So yes, and I recorded this top 50 in there, and I am publishing these all on my YouTube channel. The first one went up on January 1st, so that one has already been up, and I noticed that Drac said that he had noticed that one in there, and I should post this up at the site so that people have a link to it so that you'll be able to.
Indeed. I was going to say, make sure you post these over on the website, and I will add a link into the show notes for that one as well. But you should see a post coming on the website as well.
Yes. Note that there are 3 episodes in this. The first episode is number 50 through number 30. Then the second one is, 50 through 31. The second one would be 30 through 11, and then the last one would be the top 10. So going into each one of those. And that concludes my list for the tabletop goals.
So once again, you get a A+.
Sorry about
that. And once again, nobody's shocked. Anybody that's listened to this podcast over the years, not shocked at all. And speaking of not shocked, my tabletop goals. To buy and start to play Gloomhaven.
You did do that.
Well, I got Gloomhaven, and I opened it, but that was about it.
Oh, you didn't actually get to start playing?
No.
Did you at least start playing Jaws of the Lion?
Yes.
Oh, well, maybe get partial credit for Jaws of the Lion.
So did play the first scenario with Jaws of the Lion, so maybe kind of have, but anyway, yeah. So, anyway. Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle Earth, play at least 3 of the adventures. No, I played one of them.
Oh, yeah, that's one that has not yet made it to my table yet since during this last year. I would maybe sometime I could see if I can get it to fit in there. I guess I'm less than enthused about these app-driven games.
I've kind of noticed that with you, actually. And see, personally, I prefer the app-driven games, and I've noticed you're kind of like on them. But
yeah.
So yeah, didn't even do that. And like a dummy, I bought the expansion for it because why wouldn't you?
Oh, you mean the expansion that everyone says is bad?
Yeah, that expansion.
I know. I bought it also, but that's another matter.
Like a dummy, I bought it and haven't even really played the first one, but maybe
I hope you didn't buy Frosthaven.
I did, actually. I kickstarted Frosthaven like a dummy. Because I'm stupid, finally, that's why. And then my final tabletop goal was to play D&D with the Undeemables, which, of course, is my group of asshat friends, at least 2 times during the year. That didn't happen, but...
Okay, you've got to blame COVID for that one.
I was going to say, that one partly was COVID. We didn't get together as much as we usually do. We did get together a couple times, but we just didn't play D&D the times that we did get together. But that was partly COVID. So that one's kind of nixed, I would think.
Oh, there's no way to get together virtually? Because don't you have a...
We do. We've talked about that, actually. That might be a thing that we do. We have talked about doing some like virtual tabletop stuff, maybe, but we'll see. Okay. So yeah, so I get a big fat. What are you gonna do? Give me a D for that, since I did play Jaws of the Lion once and one scenario of Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle Earth.
Okay,
maybe a D, maybe D minus, D minus, right there on the edge of the F, maybe. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. All right. So 2021, it's weird to say that, is upon us. DDO, what's your goals, Pine Leaf?
All right. For DDO, what I want to do is I just want to create a new character in DDO and just have fun with it. Apply the stuff that I learned over the last year. Just make a character, have fun with it. Do not involve this with any requirements for YouTube videos. Now, I could still do YouTube videos with the Alchemist, for example, or some of my other characters, but this character, I can't have anything like YouTube requirements or have it in a group, in a fixed group or anything like that. And the idea there is to have the character so that I'm never in a position to say, I can't play this character right now because I'm saving it for something else, like a YouTube video or for anything like that. Because I think that gets in the way of my enjoying some of my characters. I can't play this right now because I don't want to outlevel what I'm. You understand?
What is this madness? You want to play a game for fun? What are you talking about? That is madness, I say. Who plays games for fun, Pine Leaf?
I know. But anyway, so therefore it was just to create a character to have fun with it or anything like this, because I think I've been doing too much for these weird goals, the thing that I did last year in playing all of the Keep of the Borderlands character for all the doing everything on that. So it's all these special challenges, or for YouTube is where I've been doing all my play. And I think I should just make a character and have fun with it. And right now I don't have any goals for it because I can't think of what kind of goal. Because if you're just playing it to have fun with it, then it sounds like having goals with it.
That would kind of defeat the purpose. Right, exactly. Yeah, that would be counterproductive for it. Indeed. Yeah. So, okay. Well, that's an interesting goal, actually. I like that goal.
All right.
And then how about on the tabletop? What are your goals?
All right, here.
You're like these are some crazy goals. I'm looking at the show notes here.
Yeah, we have a couple of really. I can't be serious about all of these, right?
That's what I was about to say. Now, if you do all of these next year, I will bow down to you, sir, because
what in the world have I been up to this?
Right.
First off, I'm doing 2 not one, but two 10 by 10 challenges. Now, what they have is on the Board Game Geek, they have on the 10 by 10 page, they have one that they call the hardcore challenge and the normal challenge. And the hardcore challenge, you have to name the 10 games at the beginning of the year. Now, they do say that you can have one alternate, so you can actually name 11 games, and that you have to play 10 of those at least 10 times during the course of those years.
Okay.
And to really make that one a challenge, my hardcore 10 by 10 is to play all of the Commands and Colors games. Actually, yeah, all the Commands and Colors games that are currently published in there. Now, I should note that one of them, The Great War, is only currently available on the app. I don't have a physical copy of that one in there, but the 10 by 10 challenge rules do allow you to do it through the app if the app is a faithful reproduction of the regular board game in there. So there's no problem on that score. So I'll be playing The Great War through the app. The other potential challenge in there is that Samurai Battles has been out of print for several years, but a new edition of it is supposed to be released. My estimate is somewhere around February, but everyone knows that depending on publication timelines during this particular situation is not on there. So my backup is that Commands and Colors Tricorn has two versions of it, one for the American Revolution and one for the Jacobite Rising. So Jacobite Rising is my backup if Samurai Battles gets delayed or something like that. So I have essentially it is to create a 10 by 10, play all of the Command and Colors games at least 10 times. And what I don't have noted on here is that at the end of the year, I'll be creating a top 10 list for Commands and Colors games.
Of course you will.
Of course I will. Because I would have played each of them at least 10 times throughout the course of the year, so I should be able to make a top 10 on that. And the other one that I have on here is, for the normal one, then there's any game other than Commands and Colors can be on this particular one. So play at least 10 different games 10 times, non-Commands and Colors, and that's my normal one. I do have a list of 10 games that I am planning to do so far, but as this is the normal one as opposed to the hardcore one, I am allowed to change these over the course of the year if there's a game I decide, oh, I really want to play this one instead. Right now I have Eon's End on this list. Welcome to. Now when I say Eon's End, I count anything in the Eon's End series as being Eon's End, even though that there are several different games under that banner, because they could all be mixed together. Second is Welcome to. Third one is Seven Bridges, which is a new game that just came out in December. Fourth one is Wingspan, which I think you've heard of. One Deck Dungeon, which I played a bit. Role Player, which I'm sure you heard of. Warp's Edge, which came out. Warp's Edge is one of those games that is a bag builder that is very highly recommended for solo gamers, because this is a solo only game, and I've had a lot of fun with that one when it first came out. So play a little bit more of that. Get out. Orchard, Orchard is probably the easiest one on the list because playing Orchard is quick. In fact, Orchard is so fast that I'm actually going to count that in pairs instead of individual games, because whenever you play Orchard, you shuffle the 18 cards together, you deal 9 to start playing with, you put the other 9 aside, and you play 2 games back to back, and that takes 10 to 15 minutes to play those 2 games. So I'm counting that as one playthrough instead of as 2. Cartographers, and for Cartographers, I'm including Cartographers Heroes, since that will be mixable with when Cartographers Heroes comes out I think in the summer is what it's scheduled for. But of course, we all know that things can get delayed this year. And finally, Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion.
You are a madman.
Yeah, but those are the 10 that are currently on the list. As I said, that second list is subject to change. The Commands and Colors list is the one that's going to be probably the tougher one to get. We'll see if I can make that. My next item in there, what's that all about? Did you want to introduce that one?
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask you about that. What? Yeah, just go ahead. What is that? I don't even know what that is.
What, the main campaign for Jaws of the Lion?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the one after that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so along with all this other stuff, you want to do the main campaign for Jaws of the Lion as well.
Right. Well, Jaws of the Lion is included in that 10 by 10 because I think there are 10 to 12 new scenarios. Right. There are 10 to 12 scenarios I haven't played yet that are in the main storyline. So I will hit one of the 10 for the 10 by 10 when I play Jaws of the Lion. So I do expect to get that one. So at least that one dovetails together.
I guess, but you're a madman.
Yeah, we'll see whether or not I could actually survive enough of them, because that one is going to be tricky, because in order to complete the campaign, I actually have to win every single one of those scenarios.
Oh, well, that's true. So it'll be interesting to see how you do.
Right. For the next one, which is one that you were going to ask about, is complete the Dragon Staff of Malador. Do you remember way back, I think it was probably in the summer, where I was saying that someone was putting out a 2021 calendar for an RPG, and you play the RPG over the course of the year?
Oh, yeah. I think I do remember you talking about that.
Right. Well, the name of that for the quest calendar this year is Dragon Staff of Maladoria.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is one that I will not finish until the last day of the year. So we may have the year in review show, and I suspect that there will be 3 or 4 pages left in the calendar to go at the time of the review show in there, because when I say completed, I mean completed by the end of the year, not necessarily when we have this review show. I was assuming this review show is before the end of the year instead of afterwards.
It depends on
It depends on scheduling.
scheduling, but I mean, maybe, yeah.
Right. But the idea there is to keep up with the Dragon Staff and Maldor all the way through it, and to see how well it goes. I think they have provisions on there what happens if you get killed or something like that, so that you can get back into the game in there, because the idea is not to give you 9 months of pulling the calendar and not being able to do anything with it, because that would be counterproductive, so to speak. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, that'd be to do the quest calendar for 2021. And yes, they did get it. They did manage to get it out in time before the end of 2020, because we were wondering about that when I first talked about it.
So this is an actual calendar.
Yes.
But it's also an RPG.
Yes.
Okay.
It's or I guess you could say it's the type of RPG where you have one of those light RPGs where inside they include all the rules inside. So in fact, the first few pages in there are trying to get you acquainted with what the rules are. I think the adventure really starts to get rolling in February, because you have exposition and you've got character creation, all that stuff that you'll be doing in January. Then February, I think it really gets going, and I suspect you're going to have this. I'm sure the boss fight's going to be taking all December or whatever it's going to do. Who knows what's going to happen there? I guess I'll know in about 12 months, right?
So yeah, I am like fascinated by this whole idea. I'm kind of wishing I would have bought this now, because this sounds fascinating.
Yeah, I know, because I guess the first thing, you ever try any of Steve Jackson's sorcery books?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have a feeling it'd be similar to that.
Okay,
that's right, 1 page a day, right?
I was gonna ask, do you just do one page a day? Is that how it works?
Well, yeah, because it's now one of the things about the calendars, I guess, because there's only so much story that you could write on and put onto there, is that I noticed that calendars with some of these items on there, with these special items on there, such as a quest calendar on there, they like to combine Saturday and Sunday together because there's a weekend.
Right.
And I'm trying to think. Well, I was like, got an RPG adventure here. I'm keeping this calendar at home. It's not like it's a work calendar. So I thought it was very funny that Saturday and Sunday are combined together. Those are the days where I could actually spend more time with it.
Right. So now, was this like a print and play thing, or was it like an actual physical box calendar?
I think it was possible to order it print and play, but I ordered the physical version of it. There's no way in the world I was going to do print and play with a calendar. Because I guess you could go through with a PDF on the computer or something like that, but
okay, I'm just fascinated by this. I can't wait to hear about this all throughout the year, actually.
Yeah.
So you set some pretty lofty goals, sir.
Yeah, and there's one more left, which is a little crazy.
Yeah, I see that. I didn't see that, but that is a little crazy.
And that is to play the saga scenarios for the Lord of the Rings, the card game. And what do you mean by the saga scenarios? In Lord of the Rings, the card game, they have 2 types of sets in there. I don't think you've never played Lord of the Rings, the card game, right?
I have.
You have.
It's been for ages, but I have, yes.
Right. So the original ones, what they have is you have your base set, and then you have these little packs that have individual adventures. Then you
Right.
have some that's a new era, which is focused on a new region, and then you have the monthly add-ons to that. Well, the sagas are more focused on a single storyline, where the first 2 saga boxes follow the story of the Hobbit, and then the another 6 of them follow the story of the Lord of the Rings, for each of the 6 books of the Lord of the Rings in there. And what you have in there then is the ability to play through it, because to actually play through the storyline, as opposed to what you do in the regular expansions, where you are playing other things that are happening in the world, so to speak, in the world of Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
And I've heard that the saga packs are not as strongly dependent on deck building as the regular series, because in the regular series, the later on you go down the line, the more it's dependent on you having just about everything if you're going to have any hope of surviving
I'll
the
be
adventure.
honest, that's why I ditched Lord of the Rings, the card game, because I was like, I'm not going to buy all this crap, so forget it. I'm out.
That's why I did not play this year, and that's why it's not in my top 50, is because of all that. So I'm going to try the saga scenarios and at least try the first few of them. Maybe get through the Hobbit ones, and maybe get through the first 2 books in Lord of the Rings one there. Hey, maybe I could even make that as one of my 10 by 10 if I play enough of them. Get a gauge of it. If I really like it, enjoy it, then try to finish the sagas. And if I'm finding it still too dependent on exterior deck building, then that'll be my conclusion on how the game operates. So I'm not promising to finish the saga. I'm promising to play it and give it an honest try, so that I can see whether or not this is a viable way to play this game.
Okay. Be interesting to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
So, as I said, lofty goals you have for yourself.
Yeah.
Lofty goals. It'll be interesting, this review show next year, how you did on these, because that's going to be tough.
This is going to be... I have a feeling my Lotro side is going to be a little light this year as a result of this.
Yeah, I was going to say, when are you going to have time for all this? Good Lord. Dude.
Yeah, that can be tricky.
As for me, my goals. Insert crap goal here that I will never make over the course of the year. There's my goal. You're welcome.
How about reaching level 28?
Yeah, sure. So, in case you missed that, both my DDO goal and my tabletop goal is insert crap goal here that I will never make. There you go. Done. So next year I can say, hey, look, I failed again. Yay. So that's our wrap up. Seriously, that is my goal. It's like insert crap goal here that is never going to happen. Okay, there you go. There's our look back at the crap fantastic year of 2020 in both DDO, gaming, and our goals. Here's to 2021 being a lot better.
Well, it'll be hard pressed for it not to be.
That's true.
We hope it's better.
We hope. Gonna say that's true.
We certainly don't want it to be any worse.
I mean, let's be honest. The bar is really, really low, so we'll see. We'll see.
We will see. So let's then head into our week in gaming. Why do I see a gif of a tumbleweed here?
Because that pretty much sums up my week in gaming. Do you see the tumbleweeds? Do you hear the crickets? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's go to the what Pineleaf did in his gameplay this week.
All right, very well. Then I will head in for DDO first, where I went on and finished up my play in the Feywild, where I ran Legend of the Lost Locket, which was the last quest that I had not yet played before. Then I reran Make Believe and the Endless Revels. And as I said before, I had one more quest to finish for the saga, and that was to repeat I forgot which quest it was, which was the third one, but I think it was one that you had to go an annoying distance in order to get to the quest. So I said, nah, let's just use my free token on that since I got that free token. And I did do the quest already anyway. So I just thought, all right, fine, claim my reward, be done with it.
Gotta love the VIP skip.
Then I decided, all right, let's take what I've got here and let's go to White Plume Mountain. So I'm now running White Plume Mountain on my Alchemist, who's just now coming out of a level 5 to 6 zone, so probably a little bit undergeared here. I decided for my NPC, because when I got into there, I said, oh, I don't have any level appropriate hirelings. Don't worry, I will call in my Satyr Bard. I'll tell you right now, I do not recommend bringing your Satyr Bard as your companion when you go into White Plume Mountain. I came into the one where you have this room where everything is dark.
Oh, I think I know the one that it's been a while since I did White Plume, but I think I know the one that you're talking about.
So here I am. I haven't played this room in a long time. I can't remember what's going on in here, and that guy is really nasty. And I have gear here that's more appropriate for a level 5 or 6 character than for a level 9 character, and I got completely the wrong hireling in here, and I pretty much got butchered. So yeah. So that complete. And of course, it was only afterwards where I'm thinking, wait a moment, this guy's undead, isn't he? And I said, oh boy, was I casting the wrong spell, because I should have been casting healing spells, which would have healed me and harmed the person I was facing against. So that was sort of like saying, well, perhaps I haven't completely learned how to survive better. But at least I know what I did wrong this time, so that I could now make another try at it. Maybe I should go and try some Slave Lords before I head into White Plume Mountain. Then over in Tabletop, we were running for the last Solocon of the year. It was called the Wrap It Up Solocon, where we were supposed to, all right, let's wrap up what your goals are for the years in this. And one of the things I decided to do was I wanted to finish out some Eon's End mages I never played before. So there were 8 mages that I had not played yet, and that there were a few nemesis I hadn't played yet. Now, since 2 of the nemesis were high-end bosses, what I decided to do was to play a long expedition. That way I'll be able to get in all 8 mages in there. So I managed to get all the way there. I played 9 games of Eon's End in order to do this because I lost one in there. So I eventually got into there, managed to play them all in there, and whew, got through that expedition. So that means now I have played every mage in every nemesis at least once that's out there, though I'm sure next year there's going to be another set going to be released on that. And I decided that my last game of the year was a game that's very appropriate for that, and that is Freedom and Freeze's Finished.
Nice way to wrap it up.
Yeah, that was a nice way to wrap it up, and I played it by the rules that are in the book, and it was only after I finished the game and won it that I said, oh yes, that's right, the rules in the book describe level 1, and that there are something like 4 or 5 different levels on there, so that you can adjust it so that it could be harder in there. And I think I won it handily enough that it means that the next time I play, maybe I should bump up the difficulty a little bit. I should note though that the last time I played it on that setting, I've forgotten one of the key rules and sort of had myself slapped in the face on it. So the fact that I did play it on easy mode probably could be forgiven for that reason. But it looks like the next time I play, I need to remember to bump up the difficulty for that. Then as for other tabletop games for starting on 2021, the first game I played for 2021, other than starting to read the Dragon Staff thing, was to a game called Micro RPG, and this is I guess in some ways similar to 4 Against Darkness. I think it's a little bit more rules light than 4 Against Darkness. The idea is for this to be very, very rules light. In fact, the rules could be fit on 2 sides of an A4 or letter sheet of paper, and the idea there is that you could put it into a tiny little mini book as a result. And when I say on 2 sides of paper, one of those parts that's being used in there is actually is actually the cover to it. So it's actually a page and a half is more like what's on there. So all the rules are in there as well as the adventure itself. So we're talking about very, very minimalist and simplistic styling on there. So I tried one of the Goblin Horde one. And I started going there. I've got through a few rooms, seeing how far I could get. It became obvious I was not going to survive to get to the boss. So I came to a room. It looks like things were going on. I was saying, all right, this looks like it's going to be the last room I go before I retreat out of the dungeon. And things didn't go too well in that room. It came down to, you know how it is? The dice betray you at the end.
Oh, no, I know nothing about that.
Right. Well, that's the type of situation that I had here. All I had to do was to kill one more goblin. I mean, if I hit the goblin, just so much as breathe on this goblin with this, by chucked my spear at it and hit the goblin. If I hit the goblin, I was guaranteed that the goblin was going to go down and that I would then be able to retreat and get out of there with what money I collected in there. And all I had to do was to roll a 4 or less on either one of 2 6-sided dice that I was rolling on there. And if either one of them was 4 or less, I'll be able to get up there. And I won't call it a win because I did not get to the boss and did not defeat the boss, but at least I would have gotten out alive and be able to improve my character so I could go back in again for another run. I roll the dice and get boxcars.
Seems about right.
Oh, all's not lost yet. I could still smash him with my club, but that was a bit tougher when I had to roll a 2 or less in order to...
Oh, jeez.
On one die.
Well, so good luck with that. I mean, I guess you got a 1 in 12 shot, so...
Right. Of course, I rolled a 1...
Or 1 in
3 shot.
Yeah, gonna say 1 in 3,
yeah,
I guess.
Right. Of course, I missed. Now, the problem is if you miss on a melee roll, then you suffer damage put on by the creature.
Oh, jeez.
So I had to roll for the creature, and of course, the creature rolled a 6 for damage.
Oh, good grief.
Well, it's divided by 2, but I only had 3 hit points left, so that was the end of that. And anyway, even if he did roll low on there, I would have had to have rolled a 1 on my next will check, because if I failed my will check, I would have died from that. But if I rolled a 1 for that, then I would have been able to throw another spear and go through that again. But yes, essentially it came down to, I knew things were in pretty bad shape as soon as I saw boxcars come up. Betrayed, because that was my primary skill. That was the one I had almost a 90% chance of rolling a 4 or less on one of those 2 dice. Nope, didn't happen. So that was my first play that I had of micro RPG. So I'll probably try a couple more of those, but you'll notice it does not appear on any of my goals. So that's just a side fun little thing to have on there and to see how you like that. Then finally, we also had a role player. So I played my first round of role player. We have monthly challenges on role player, and that's one of the reasons why I have role player as one of my 10 by 10s in there. And that is because if I play all the challenges this year, then I'll have 12 playthroughs of role player. And where is it? Oh, the challenge through this month was to play an elf cleric, Riftwalker, and I got 31 points on there, which is a reasonable score. I think the last 2 times I played it, I think I had better scores than that. So it's not spectacular, but 31 or higher is pretty much my target for what I call a win in the basic game. So I will say that I did reasonably well for it, but I don't think I'm going to beat anyone in the challenge because there's always someone in there who has 38 or 39 for these things. And that was for role player. And finally, on video games, we had decided the host from the other podcast, so from our sister podcast on there,
which is Lotro Players, if you didn't know.
Yeah, Lotro Players. We decided to get together and play Civ 6.
I seen that you were playing that the other day, and I was like,
yeah. So we were playing that on New Year's Eve, and we got through a little bit on there through New Year's Eve, but we didn't get very far on this. We decided we were going to try again on New Year's Day. So what we did on New Year's Day is we started at noon, and then we played quite a bit of time. Let me see. I think we finally broke up at 1 a.m.
Whoa, hold on. You stayed up until 1 a.m.
Yeah, that was a bit. Yeah, this is...
Wow, 2021 is a weird year.
Yeah, that's what. Now we also stayed up almost to midnight on the New Year's Eve one, but then of course New Year's Eve you're not going to sleep anyway at midnight anyway because people are setting off fireworks. But for New Year's yeah, for the New Year's Day one, what we played from noon till about 5:30. Then we had the dinner break / we also had the field trip for Lotro. So we had the Lotro field trip during that time frame. So we had a 3-hour break so they could eat and then have the field trip. So we were able to do our usual Friday night Lotro for that. Then at 8:30 we reconvened and then continued along what we're doing. And then what we're doing is we are playing this that we are on the same team against the AI because we call this taking over the world mode because we're trying to see, can we take over the mode? How far can we get? And during the course of game, what happened was that the nation to the south of us was Australia. I guess that's appropriately enough. I don't know how familiar you are with Civ.
I played. I can't remember which version it was, but I mean, I know enough of it to understand.
Yeah, so you get the
Yeah.
idea there. So anyway, we had Australia to the front, and they decided that their best policy was to build cities as close to where I live as possible, and they keep on doing. And they're complaining that I have soldiers near their borders. What do you mean? You put your cities right smack next to
Right.
mine.
Don't build so close to my city.
They were way down there. They had plenty of room to expand. Where they tried to expand, they decided, let's go and drop our cities next to Poland. And that's what they did. Eventually, when I was saying, oh, look at here, I said, oh, I'm being paranoid here. I'm going to try to look here to see if they put a settler in this place. This is why we are saying we've got to do something about Australia in there. And at some point, they actually snuck a settler right smack in between two of my cities. Now, we were already preparing for war here, but boy, are we, that was the last we had in there. Terry Adwin was playing Rome, and Terry Adwin plays Rome like Rome, meaning the ultimate military machine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so she has been preparing and getting legions. What happened is, as soon as the trade route got finished, and we had a road between Australia in there, and she was able to get her troops down into there, and I was able to get into position. We essentially declared war on Australia, and this war started right about midnight, and there was none of us were planning on going to bed until that war was finished. That's why it took so long.
Okay, great.
And I wanted to see this war to the end. And so yeah, it was past 1:00 when that happened. But we got rid of Australia. So yes, so I got a lesson in Civ 6 play. Over that time there, with a little help from Terry well, actually a lot of help from Terry Adwin in there because she knows how to build a military machine. Well, she's been taking the military route, I've been taking the religious route, and we're trying to see how we're going through there. And since Winda is also doing a little, I guess she's doing a bit of a hybrid route, I think, in what she's doing. Because she's the other major religion that we've got on the board right now is hers, which was Ninja Turtleism.
Okay, did you just say Ninja Turtleism?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly.
Yeah, only since Winda. I know, she's the only minister in the group. But yes, Ninja Turtleism. And that concludes my week in gaming. We currently have 15 silver orders on Patreon. If you'd like to help support DDO players, you can go to the donations page. You can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money would be used for our podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. If you'd like to just donate without using Patreon, you can contact track at DDOplayers.com. We did not receive any emails this week, but if you'd like to send us one, you can send it to podcast at DDOplayers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance at Players Ally, DDO Players at DDO Players, Dracula at Dracula_72, and Piney Pet Piney Needles. The Players Alliance has two shows on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. UC Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News, so that occasionally changes. And on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's more reliable, is Lotro Players News. And you can join us for our shows at ddoplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight, and that is it for the closeout for 2020. And now we'll be looking forward to 2021. And in that, I hope that you quest responsibly.